We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
You are tuned to Radio Imanzi broadcasting from Kigali. I hope you're doing well. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. Please excuse us, we had a technical issue. The headlines. Prime Minister Edward Ngirente says the world is able to gather physically today after over 2 years of the global COVID-19 pandemic. This is evidence of what can be achieved when countries cooperate towards a common goal. A campaign to fight child sexual abuse was inaugurated at St.Ignatius High School in Kibagabaga, Kigali City. Belgian firms have expressed interest in investing in Rwanda as they also eye a wider market in the East African community. The World Bank has put 4 projects in Afghanistan on hold. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Edward Ngirente has said that efforts to recover from the COVID-19 crisis must be underpinned by multilateralism and collaboration between governments as well as international organizations. Ngirente was speaking in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, while delivering remarks at the 8th World Government Summit. The summit was postponed twice due to COVID-19 induced restrictions. This year's summit convened more than 4,000 individuals from 190 countries who will participate in various sessions to discuss and highlight global challenges and their potential solutions. To get shared goals back on track, the Premier also called for collaboration among international financial institutions, civil society and the private sector, and to draw on international research and innovation. The world is able to gather physically today after over 2 years of the global COVID-19 pandemic. This is evidence of what can be achieved when countries cooperate towards a common goal, Ngirente said. He added that lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic should be a foundation as the world considers strategies for scaling new heights for the future of humanity. For instance, Ngirente said the UN 2030 agenda provides a pathway to better livelihood, citing that it provides universal goals and targets for all countries to deliver on 3 dimensions covering economy, social as well as environment. Sharing Rwanda's economic recovery efforts and progress, Ngirente said that the government's economic response was driven by different interventions comprising sizable fiscal and monetary support, including the Economic Recovery Fund. The Minister of Education, the Secretary General of the Rwanda Investigation Bureau, and the Mayor of the city of Kigali have spearheaded a nationwide high school awareness campaign aimed at preventing child sexual abuse, drug trafficking, and more. The campaign was inaugurated at St.Ignatius High School in Kibagabaga, Kigali City. The Minister of Education, Dr. Uwamariya Valentine, called on students to beware of temptations and avoid peer pressure and to remind their parents that during these holidays they should pay attention to them. Giraneza Deve Jonathan, a student at St. Ignatius, commended the authorities for their campaign, saying that they learned a lot, especially to have discernment.
So from this meeting, we have learned a lot of things. First of all, I, as a student, as a member of the youth society, I have learned that I should take some precautions when talking to people. Whatever their intentions, they might be coming to me smiling and showing that they have good intentions, but we can't know everything about human, especially their brain. So I should make sure that their intentions are not the ones I'm intending. That's in terms of trafficking, human trafficking. And then apart from human trafficking, talking about abuse or rape, I should know that apart from me, there's also other human beings. They are sensitive, they are emotional. So I should, as a Rwandan, I shouldn't harm anyone. And as a human being, I shouldn't take advantage of somebody's weakness into my own priority. In terms of drug abuse, I should make sure that I don't spoil my future because of permanent joy, permanent adrenaline. I should make sure that I remain constant in my planning, in my vision of life, and make sure that I don't take those drugs and spoil myself and other people around me.
Moving on ahead, Belgian firms have expressed interest in investing in Rwanda as they also eye a wider market in the East African community. The Belgian Economic and Trade Mission is in Rwanda to explore business opportunities and partnerships in the country and East African community. At least 5 firms have had progressive discussions with Rwanda Development Board, according to Adele Kajangwe, sector marketing analyst at the board. He disclosed that during their meeting, one firm expressed interest in setting up a manufacturing plant for hygiene products, while others in the health and construction sectors also expressed interest. The Ministry of Education points out that the number of girls studying STEM is still less compared to boys in secondary school. This was reiterated in the National Symposium of Girls' Education, which is closely evaluating obstacles found in girls' education and how to overcome them. Among the barriers that hinders girls' education is poverty, which leads to early marriage and early pregnancies. PLF has been working to contribute to the progressive elimination of normative infrastructure and government-related barriers hindering girls' access to equitable education in Rwanda. The British High Commissioner to Rwanda, Omar Daye, notes that the program aims at ensuring equitable and sustainable access to girls' education.
And what we're focusing on this morning is talking about how do we take the evidence that we've learned to really look at girls' education in particular and ensure that girls are getting good access to education and good learning outcomes. So this program is looking at ways and how can we get girls back into school, how can we ensure girls stay in school so that we create the future generation of female leaders in Rwanda.
Gaspard Twagirayezu, the Minister of State in charge of primary and secondary education, notes that even though the number of girls joining TVET and STEM is lower than male counterparts, they will continue to conduct campaigns aimed at encouraging girls to join so that they can have access to job opportunities like boys.
We also continue to conduct sensitization campaigns in secondary schools to encourage more girls to join technical and vocational education and training, TVET, science and technology fields, and a good example of that is the establishment of Nyanza Technical School, which was transformed into a girls' school.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources announced long-term plans to increase overall outcomes of the farmers today. The outcomes of the first joint research held in Rulindo district between the Economic Policy Research Networks and Food and Agriculture Organizations was discussed, where the research was on farmers and agriculture produce. The main objective of this research is to contribute to the improvement of livelihoods in small cities and towns. The research analyzed the situation of biophysical and socio-economic components of the food system and the mapping of food flows and value chains analysis in connection to Kigali city. Other regions' food system were also conducted. Seth Kwajirayezu, Executive Director of the Economic Policy Research Network, recommended to farmers to enjoy their produce before supplying to the markets.
We are doing like on farmers. Farmers, did they have food? They should enjoy the production before think of supplying the markets. Another recommendation was like to advise the district authorities to ensure all the available arable land, or the land which can be utilized for agriculture, to be utilized, be it through cooperatives or individuals, but make sure we can maximize the capacities of using the agriculture available land.
Dr. Octavie Mgaga, Director General of the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, says they plan to bring on board the fertilizers that are affordable to farmers.
We implement the Vision 2050 of the country, where we are saying that by 2035 we have to multiply the output from agriculture 80 times from what we have today by 2035, and 15 times of what we have today by 2050. And then to be able to continue measuring the progress, we have to set up baselines. And once from those baselines, we develop the targets according to available resources and also activities that will be implemented. We evaluate ourselves where we are so that we can come up with new tactics to make sure that we are on track. One is intensification, and also it is extensification. Expansion of areas. Then when you are talking of expansion of areas, we are in our strategic plans. In our strategic plan, we aim at producing vertical. The side of intensification is exactly the use of the productivity enhancing, the factors enhancing productivity, mainly improved seeds, fertilizers, water, because the government has a strategy of increasing the land and irrigation. For example, by 2050, we'll be having 600,000 hectares under irrigation. And then also to continue bringing on board the fertilizers which are cheap, which are affordable to farmers, and they customized to the type of the soils, or training farmers on the best practices of agricultural productivity, while also there are support in post-harvest handling, as well as linking them with the markets. Also, we continue attracting the private sector to come and invest so that agriculture can become really real professional.
Moving on ahead, the farmers in Nyagatare district have asked the authorities to help in introducing smart agriculture practices that improved productivity, because rain is no longer reliable to irrigate plants and droughts are prolonged. Mutabaruka Fulgence, a Nyagatare district employee in charge of agriculture, animal husbandry and natural resources, assured the farmers that the district is working on a project to assist farmers in obtaining dam sheets that collect rainwater, which is then used to irrigate crops during hot seasons. We shall continue with some items of international news after the advertisement.
Are you looking for the best language interpreting services for your next meeting, training workshop, or forum, in person or remotely? Look no further. Gemini Multimedia Limited offers high-quality and professional interpreting and document translation services in various fields of expertise. Based on the International Association of Conference Interpreters, AIC, and with a team of professionals with more than 10 years of experience in the field, you can rely on us for a smooth running of your next event. Locate Gemini Multimedia Limited on KG 14 Avenue 258 between Kagugu Health Center and Fawe Girls School. You can also call us on 0790-719-909 or visit www.geminimultimedia.org. Gemini Multimedia Limited. Speak clearly. Listen reliably.
some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Welcome back. Tanzania has performed well in the fight against corruption according to a new report that ranked the country second after Rwanda in the region. According to Transparency International's report of January 2022, in 2021, Tanzania scored 39 out of 100 and was as a result ranked 87 out of 108 countries that were investigated. Prevention and Combating of Corruption Bureau Director General Salum Hamdoum said this during the handling over of the corruption report for 2020-2021 to President Samia Suluhu Hassan at State House Dodoma. The government of Zimbabwe has begun repossessing idle land that was given to black farmers during President Robert Mugabe's bloody land reforms 2 decades ago. According to the Minister of Agriculture, Ignatius Masuka, people whose farmland is lying unused and those who own multiple farms will lose the land, which in turn will be given to aspiring farmers from a waiting list left from earlier rounds of land reform. Masuka said Zimbabwe has a finite geographic space. They have allocated 99% of the land, and the land that they are currently allocating to those on the waiting list is land that they are taking from blacks allocating to blacks. He also noted that the government will not repossess productive farms. The Ethiopian government and Tigrayan rebels accused each other of blocking a humanitarian aid convoy carrying emergency supplies for a starving population in the northern region. On March 24th, the government announced an indefinite humanitarian truce, saying it hoped to help hasten delivery of emergency aid into the Tigray region. Hours later, the rebels agreed to a cessation of hostilities, but each side issued demands. The government called on the Tigray People's Liberation Front to desist from all acts of further aggression and withdraw from areas they have occupied in neighboring regions, Afar and Amara. The rebels have in turn urged the Ethiopian authorities to go beyond empty promises and take concrete steps to facilitate unfettered humanitarian access to Tigray. Since then, however, none of the aid trucks currently waiting in Semera, the capital of Afar, has reached Tigray, where no aid has arrived by road since December 15th. A convoy of 43 trucks of food aid authorized to the UN World Food Programme has not been able to enter the Tigray region due to the closure of Abala Road by the Tigray People Liberation Front militants, the statement said. Earlier Tuesday, the Tigray People Liberation Front rebels reiterated that no humanitarian aid has arrived in Tigray, while denouncing the false claims of the Ethiopian authorities and demanding that the unimpeded delivery of humanitarian aid be separated from political issues. On Saturday, the rebels accused the government of peddling fictitious stories in claiming that the Tigray People Liberation Front rebels were blocking the delivery of aid to Tigray. The situation on the ground in Afar or Tigray is difficult to verify independently, and humanitarian organizations have not commented on the situation of the aid convoys since the truce. 4.6 million people in Tigray, from a population of around 6 million, are food insecure, with 2 million of those suffering from extreme food shortages. The UN Food Agency had welcomed the truce and said it was on standby to deliver humanitarian assistance at a scale to affected populations across northern Ethiopia. The World Bank has put 4 projects in Afghanistan worth $600 million on hold amid concerns over a decision by the country's ruling Islamist leaders to ban girls from returning to public high schools. The projects to be funded under the revamped Afghanistan Reconstruction Trust Fund were being readied for implementation by United Nations agencies to support projects in agriculture, education, health and livelihoods. But the bank's guidance requires that all Afghanistan Reconstruction Trust Fund financed activities to support access to and equity of services for women and girls in Afghanistan. The bank said, citing its deep concerns over the Taliban's ban on girls attending high school. As a result, the bank said the 4 projects will be presented to Afghanistan Reconstruction Trust Fund donors for approval only when the World Bank and international partners have a better understanding of the situation and confidence that the goals of the projects can be met. European countries, Belgium, the Netherlands, Ireland and the Czech Republic announced the expulsion of dozens of Russian diplomats suspected of spying in coordinated action taken in the shadow of Moscow's war in Ukraine. The expulsions ratcheted up Western blows directed at Russia. Already several rounds of sanctions engineered mainly by the European Union and the US have severely sapped Russia's economy. Russia now considers all European Union countries, along with the United States and allies including Japan, Britain and Australia, to be hostile countries. The British government has announced that its judges will no longer sit on Hong Kong's top court over opposition to China's national security law, with 2 Supreme Court judges resigning immediately. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said the situation has reached a tipping point where it is no longer tenable for British judges to sit on Hong Kong's leading court and would risk legitimizing oppression. They have seen a systematic erosion of liberty and democracy in Hong Kong, she said, noting the authorities had cracked down on free speech, the free press and free association since the security law was imposed in 2020. Truss said she had reached the decision to withdraw the judges from the Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal following consultations with the UK Supreme Court and ministers responsible for the judiciary. The UK Supreme Court said its 2 judges currently sitting on the Hong Kong Court, 2 of 12 overseas non-permanent positions, had resigned with immediate effect. The move by the UK to pull its judges may add pressure on Australia and Canada to do the same.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
The Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded 312,860,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 2 deals on the fixed income market, while the equities market remained quiet. Bradwa closed the counter at 125 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 249 Rwandan francs, I&M Bank at 45 Rwandan francs, Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs, MTN Rwanda at 180 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uturi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.7 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.9 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buy price was 0.43 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. The Ugandan shilling buy price was 0.28 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.286. The Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.5 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buy price was 1,008 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,028 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,321 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,347 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,120 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,142 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.